Why did the chicken cross the road? Because he was driven out of his natural habitat by natural processes. I'm speaking about sage grouse and new findings on sage grouse conservation. The sage grouse are an elusive upland game bird that live in the sagebrush ecosystem. A recent area of concern for wildlife biologists is sage grouse population numbers, and a lot of research and money has been put into counting the population of sage grouse because they aren't sure how many there were. Sage grouse are a native species that is being driven out of their native environment by a lot of different influences, specifically, or we're going to get into the specifics. Research is proving useful in restoring the number of sage grouse by cutting down overgrowth of conifer trees. They most effectively do this when collaborating with private landowners or ranchers and work together to build a better environment for sage grouse as well as all types of wildlife. So I was in the middle of this when my Uncle Ricky, got a grant for cutting down some juniper trees up above his property in restoring some of the sagebrush habitat. And we worked for a couple weeks up there cutting trees with them, and since then they've done a lot more collaborating with the BLM to restore some sagebrush ecosystem for a lot more than just the sage grouse. And I guess another reason I'm interested in this topic is I grew up outside, loving the outdoors and the wildlife. My hope is that you'll become more informed about this subject and maybe even be able to talk about it with others when you hear the subject come up, and also to participate if the community or government officers need our participation. We can be more informed about this area that affects our community. I'll start off by mentioning a few topics, namely the sage grouse habitat, their natural population stresses, and the Land Conservation Act. So I'd like to start off about the sage grouse lifestyle. There's a quote from SageGrouseInitiative.com that says, "In brief, in the arid West, life follows water. Habitats near water, stream sides, wet meadows, and wetlands support the greatest variety of animal and plant life and attract wildlife during their daily and seasonal movements. In a water-scarce landscape, these lush habitats are also where people have naturally settled. A recent groundbreaking study reveals a strong link between wet sites that are essential summer habitat for sage grouse to raise their broods and the distribution of sage grouse breeding areas, or leks. The authors found 85% of leks were clustered within 6 miles of wet summer habitats. Moreover, although wet habitats cover less than 2% of the western landscape, more than 80% are located on private lands. This study makes it clear that successful sage grouse conservation will greatly depend on cooperative ventures with private landowners, ranchers, and farmers to help sustain vital summer habitats." The sage grouse diet is primarily sagebrush, especially in the winter when other grasses and forbs aren't readily available. And a lek is a group of sage grouse. I guess lekking season is when a flock of sage grouse will get together, a lot of males and a lot of females, and a male can get up to 8 or 9 females typically, and they'll all still be within a 300-yard radius, and I guess that explains that. Their natural population stresses include predators and conifer growth. The predator community, I have a quote here about kind of the wide variety of predators and the main ones. The first one is, or I guess ResearchGate put up this study, and it says, "Coyote, American badger, bobcat, and several species of raptors are common predators of juvenile and adult sage-grouse through most of the range of the species. Additionally, coyote, American badger, common raven, and black-billed magpie commonly prey on sage-grouse eggs. Many additional predators can kill and consume younger birds, including common raven, northern harrier, ground squirrels, and weasels. The role of snakes in predation on sage-grouse nests has not been well documented. The abundance of red fox and common raccoon may have substantially increased in sage-grouse range in association with landscape level changes. However, the predator communities to which sage-grouse are susceptible are made up of generalists. No one predator focuses solely on sage-grouse as their primary food source. Most predators are dependent upon rodents and lagomorphs as their primary prey. So it said there that there wasn't one predator that kind of was the emphasis of sage-grouse population numbers, but I went to a meeting with Chris Colt. He's a wildlife biologist and was a big part of the sage-grouse studies, and he said that the raven is actually has the biggest influence on eating their eggs, and they actually went through a big struggle. The government went to were setting out poison eggs to kill the ravens because their population numbers were so high, and then third-party groups were suing the government for animal cruelty. And it's also counterintuitive because the ravens are illegal to shoot, so their population is uncontrolled by humans, I guess, and us. Let's see. But also, the predators are a non-native to the environment. My dad grew up here in this area, and he said that there was a lot more of birds, especially what are those called? Oh man.
Chuckers?
What? Not chuckers, but chuckers is one of them. Chuckers and pheasants. Pheasants. He said there was a lot more pheasants around. And in my life there's been no pheasants, and he says it's attributed to the predators that were introduced here that weren't here naturally. And I have a quote here that talks about foxes specifically. It says, prior to European settlement, red foxes were absent or uncommon in many parts of the sagebrush steppe ecosystem. Since then, they have expanded their range. For example, red foxes first entered Strawberry Valley, Utah during the 1980s. So they've been here introduced within the last 40 years. And that has a big detrimental effect on the sage-grouse numbers. And then conifer trees. The sage-grouse habitat has been overgrown by conifer trees. A quote here from Sage-Grouse Initiative. Over the past 150 years, juniper and pinyon woodlands have increased across the sagebrush steppe in the Intermountain West, including spreading to sites that previously did not support trees. The transition from shrub steppe to woodland has broad concerning impacts on ecosystem function and services. The Land Conservation Act of 1965 enables local governments to enter into contracts with private landowners for the purpose of restricting specific parcels of land to agricultural or related open space use. In return, landowners receive property tax assessments which are much lower than normal because they are based upon farming and open space uses as opposed to full market value. A big part of the sage-grouse Land Conservation Act is clearing the land of trees, and they do this through a variety of ways, either chainsawing or chaining, which is where they drag a big heavy chain in between two trucks, and brush hogging for reseeding. So in conclusion, a native species, the sage-grouse, have suffered a great loss to their natural processes. With the help of research, new ideas, and healthy practices show our progress and stewardship as a community. Sage-grouse could be extinct without the help of successful research. With a few basic truths, I hope, as a foundation to your guys' knowledge, I invite you to build a tower of knowledge with it.